Charged with murdering her own daughter. Now Casey Anthony could be put to death herself. Good evening, I'm Amy Caulfield.
I'm Cale Remaker. The state attorney's office filed a notice late today that it will seek the death penalty in the murder case. Holly Bristow following all the details. She's in studio with us. Holly?
That's right, Cale. The state attorney's office filed a notice of intent to seek the death penalty at 3:30 this afternoon. And from what my sources are telling me, this came as a shock to Casey Anthony's parents and her attorney. This also comes as a surprise to some local defense attorneys.
I think it's going to be hard enough for the prosecution to prove first-degree murder, to prove a premeditated killing. They're going to have to prove a lot more than that to get a successful death penalty.
Local criminal defense attorney Diana Tennis has defended several death penalty cases in her career. She thinks proving first-degree murder will be difficult for the state and does not think that the state's case against Casey Anthony is fit for the ultimate sentence.
In order to kick that up to her getting the death penalty, you have to have what we call aggravators. And that means it's got to be the worst of the worst. It's got to be your cold-blooded killing with torture, multiple killings, killing a police officer. It's got to be real specific, and I don't see it in this case.
The state initially filed an intent to seek the death penalty last fall, but they waived that intent December 5th, just 6 days before little Kaylee's remains were found. According to the state's new motion, additional information is now available. But Tennis doesn't buy it. She feels that this is strategy.
There's a theory among criminal defense lawyers that prosecutors do this so that the jury that is selected is particularly primed to come back guilty, because in order to sit on this jury, every single one of those 12 people is going to have to be willing to give the death penalty. That, the thought is, skews it toward the prosecution and makes them more likely to come back first-degree murder.
And Tennis says if this is ultimately tried as a death penalty case, she estimates it'll cost the state an additional $1 to $2 million to try it that way. She also believes that a mid-October trial date would be next to impossible. Now, Casey Anthony's defense attorney, Jose Baez, would not return my phone calls tonight, but I did get a response from his spokesperson, Marty McKenzie. She said, quote, "This is not a death penalty case. We will do whatever is necessary to defend Casey Anthony from the state trying to take her life. We already have qualified defense lawyers on our team that are prepared for a vigorous defense." So many twists and turns in this case, and Cale will certainly be on top of all of them.
Holly, thank you very much. Yeah, so many twists and turns. Here's a quick look back at some of them. June 15th last year. That's the last day anyone in the Anthony family can remember seeing little Kaylee alive. July 16th, Casey Anthony is arrested for charges of child neglect and interfering with an investigation. August 11th, the meter reader first calls to report something fishy in the woods near the Anthony home. He would call 2 more times. October 14th, that's when the grand jury indicted Casey in the murder of Kaylee. December 11th, finally, a meter reader finds the child's remains in the woods near the Anthony home. Again, that was Roy Kronk, the meter reader. The bones would later be identified as Kaylee Anthony.
Casey Anthony was sitting in the Orange County Jail when she first found out that a child's body was found just around the corner from her parents' home. Her reaction at that time was caught on tape. A judge could decide next month whether to keep that videotape private. Casey's lawyer, Jose Baez, filed an emergency motion to keep his client's reaction under wraps. That motion will be heard on May 7th.
More complaints now about the Orange County Sheriff's deputy who inspected the woods near the Anthony home in August. Keith Williams says he came across several stuffed animals while searching for Kaylee in the woods. Williams says he called 911 and Deputy Richard Kane responded. Williams says Deputy Kane chucked the stuffed animals simply right back in the woods.
He didn't walk with me back here. I expected him to, but he didn't. That's why I say I felt brushed off, because you know he could have walked back here.
Do you think that Deputy Kane deserved to lose his job?
I've lost mine over less than that before.
An internal investigation found Deputy Kane should be fired for lying to investigators about what he saw in the woods. Deputy Kane is working in the sheriff's supply office until his appeal is heard.